I didn't have anything really planned for this year. I really just, I don't know, not a lot of it was getting released. I know, like, a lot of it was dropped on Disney Plus, but I wasn't really interested in anything like that. I did watch some of the Bad Batch episode. I do plan on reviewing it tomorrow or the next day, some point this week. But there just wasn't a lot of interesting new Star Wars news to be coming out today, at least in my opinion. So, what I decided to do was do a tier list for all of the movies. This is just going to be all of the theatrically released movies, so none of the Lego ones, nothing like that. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Pretty standard here. I think you guys know what a tier list is. So, first up, we have The Force Awakens, and this is going to go in B tier. I would give it a B. It's probably the most B tier movie I think ever made. I like a decent amount in it. I like Kylo Ren. I like Finn. I like Rey a decent amount. I know she gets a lot of shit from a lot of fans, but I like her as a character for the most part. My problem with this movie is it relies way too much on nostalgia as a crutch, and I don't think really has a great story, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yes, it blatantly rips off A New Hope. It just copy and pastes the same story beats into this movie, and while I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing to pay tribute to that movie, the more and more I see it, the more and more it becomes a knockoff instead of a tribute. And that's where my problems really lie in this movie. It just feels like J.J. Abrams trying to recreate that magic that was the original trilogy and coming up short rather than, like, really succeeding. Now, this is a very fun movie. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it every time I watch it. I love the action in this movie. I think the visuals are fantastic. It's still, like, a fun Star Wars movie, but overall, I'd say it's just kind of there. It's a really fun sci-fi movie that I'll throw on from time to time, but it's not something special inside the Star Wars universe, if that makes any sense. So, next up on the list, excuse me, is The Last Jedi. And easily my most controversial Star Wars take, I think, is that I love this movie. Yes, I know a lot of people hate this movie. I really, really know. I get it. I get the flaws here. I understand that, like, yes, it took a lot of risks, took the Star Wars movies in a direction that a lot of people didn't like. I understand that. I understand that Finn and Rose, that whole storyline is not very good and shouldn't have been in the movie. But in my opinion, everything that is great in this movie heavily outweighs the mediocre and the bad. I love everything to do with Luke, Rey, and Kylo Ren. I think they had the new ideas introduced in this movie really, really worked. I think Luke as a character, his evolution here is fantastic. I think that Rey grows leaps and bounds from Force Awakens, and I don't know, this is just an overall much better and more wholly, I think, original movie than The Force Awakens. I think that's why people like myself who really, really do enjoy this movie kind of felt like Force Awakens was a step backwards, even, and like with The Last Jedi, it was a step forwards. Even if that step forwards wasn't in a direction that a lot of people liked, in my opinion, I did like the direction they were going in, and I did enjoy the newer ideas created here. And the visuals, again, were completely stunning. I love Rian Johnson's direction here. Just an overall, I think, really, really solid, innovative Star Wars movie. Alright, next up is Revenge of the Sith, and I hold the opinion of a lot of other people my age about this movie. I love this thing. I grew up with it. I rented it, I don't know how many times at Blockbuster. I think they just gave me the DVD for free. I really, really love this movie. I love seeing that story that we were promised throughout the entire prequel trilogy. Anakin turning to the dark side. I think this movie has much better pacing. I think it has much better direction. I think it has much better performances. And I think that it cuts out a lot of the melodrama and the political crap that the other two just were bogged down by. Just really bogged down by wooden dialogue and just uninteresting story beats. And while that necessarily, this movie isn't free of that, I'm not calling Revenge of the Sith a completely flawless movie. I think out of all of the prequels, it has easily the least amount of that. And honestly, I just enjoy it for entertainment value. It's one of the most, if not the most, entertaining Star Wars movie to me. So for that, I'm going to rank it in the S tier pretty high. And the next one up is Return of the Jedi. And I have a gripe with some Star Wars fans who say that Return of the Jedi is the weakest of the original trilogy. I love Return of the Jedi. Some days, if you catch me on a certain day, I will say that Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie. Not my favorite movie, my favorite Star Wars movie. Just because it is extremely fun. It has some of the best action set pieces of the entire trilogy. Mark Hamill as Luke in this movie is fantastic. Easily, probably his best performance of his entire career in this movie. Everything to do with him and Darth Vader and the Emperor is so, so, so good. It's just some of the best storytelling inside of the Star Wars universe. Now, does it have flaws? Yes, the Ewoks are kind of stupid. Unfortunately, Harrison Ford doesn't give a great performance in this movie. Just little nitpicks like that. I don't know. I find this movie to be kind of held back by that sometimes, but for the most part, I'm not really looking for that when I go to Return of the Jedi. I'm looking for this is a fun Star Wars experience, and that's pretty much what we get out of it. So again, S tier. All right, now we are here. My least favorite Star Wars movie, Attack of the Clones. Now, this I don't think is an unpopular opinion. I'm putting this in D tier. I don't like this movie. Now, is there stuff that I enjoy in it? Yes. I like Kamino. I like Jango Fett. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi in this movie. I like everything on Geonosis for the most part. I like some of the beginning of the movie. However, it is so bogged down by the middle hour and a half of just boring, wooden, just every expression I can get out to mean bland and boring is just in this hour and a half of just nothingness going on. I mean, I swear to God, I fall asleep every time just in the middle of this movie because it's so bland, it's so uninteresting, it's so not what you would expect from Star Wars up until that point. It's just a boring movie. Like, I don't want to watch a boring Star Wars movie. I'd much rather watch even a bad Star Wars movie over something as boring as Attack of the Clones. That's really all I can say about it. It is the one of the most boring movies I think I've ever seen. So, yeah. And then we have Empire Strikes Back. I'm not going to touch upon this too much. It's my number one. I feel like it's every Star Wars fan's number one movie in this franchise. It's one of my favorite movies ever made. It's one of the best sci-fi movies ever made, one of the best action movies ever made, one of the best movies ever made, and it's been talked about way too much. Or not even way too much because it deserves all of it, but it's been talked about enough to where I don't feel like I can add anything new. Okay. Next, we have Phantom Menace, and I'm going to put this in C tier, only slightly above Attack of the Clones. It has the same problems as Attack of the Clones. It's a very uninteresting movie. It goes way too much into the politics of the Republic and like midichlorians. That whole thing is just woof, really not great. I guess you'd say little orphan Annie here, or Anakin, not Annie. That's not what I mean. Anakin Skywalker as a child here. I don't like it. He's very annoying, and I don't know. This movie feels like it is also unnecessary. Like, I don't really need to see Anakin Skywalker as a child. Yes, the pod racing is cool, and Darth Maul is one of my favorite characters in the entire Star Wars universe, and he's introduced here, and he's great. He's really cool. Duel of the Fates is fantastic. That entire sequence, and Ewan McGregor and Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson. Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Liam Neeson is Qui-Gon Jinn, and Duel of the Fates are the only reasons why this movie is ahead of Attack of the Clones. I think they are both fantastic, and that whole sequence at the end is amazing. Everyone's raved about it. It's fantastic. So, yeah, very middle of the ground movie. I'd give it like a C+. It's okay, I guess. Still pretty bland, pretty uninteresting. Alright, next up is another movie that I feel like has been talked about way too much, is A New Hope, my least favorite of the original trilogy. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still an A+ movie. I still think this is one of the best movies ever made. However, in terms of the other Star Wars movies, I just enjoy it a little less. I don't really have a lot of reasoning for it. I just, for some reason, don't come back to this one as much as I do the ones ahead of it. So, yeah, I mean, it's A New Hope. What anyone else has said about this movie, I think about it. To me, it's not as rewatchable as the other Star Wars movies. or the other ones in the S tier. So there's that. And my second to least favorite Star Wars movie, very much teetering on my least favorite, is Rise of Skywalker. I did not like this movie in the slightest. I saw it in the movie theaters and was heavily, heavily confused and not really angry, I want to say, but just baffled at what I was seeing. It was J.J. Abrams, I think, trying to completely go against what Rian Johnson was doing The Last Jedi, completely just give into a lot of the older fans and just going full cheese. I mean, all of these Star Wars movies have a level of cheese to them. All of them are at least a little bit corny or a little like ridiculous in the grand scheme of things, but with this movie it's just turned up to 11 and I really, really don't like it. I think Rey is completely ruined here. I think that the Emperor coming back and being her parent kind of is ridiculous. I think Finn is completely wasted here and completely just a non-entity throughout. I think the fake out Chewbacca death is really, really disrespectful. I think the whole ending sequence is completely ridiculous and again just ripping off Return of the Jedi. This movie is just, it's the worst of everything. Like, I feel like this movie is what a lot of people who complain about the sequels are referring to. Like, I get it with this movie. The other two, I really don't. I do, at least really enjoy both of them. But Rise of Skywalker, I really hate this movie. Then the holiday special, I don't really count this as a Star Wars movie. I don't count it as movie. F tier, that thing's a fever dream. Moving on. Rogue One, another controversial opinion I think that I have. I love Rogue One, and I'm going to put it in S tier. I think, yes, the characters aren't great. They're not really memorable, and that's fine. They didn't need to be memorable, in my opinion, for this movie to work. I liked it for the simple MacGuffin movie that it was, and I thought the action was incredible. I thought that was the best part of this movie. This is why I watched this movie, because it's Star Wars with the best CGI, I think, in any movie I've ever seen, and it's great. It's really, like, the last act of this movie is fantastic, and I think everything, even leading up to that, is really great. I love the visuals. I think the direction is really beautiful. I like seeing another side of the rebellion like this. I think it's a pretty cool movie, and it deserves a lot more respect than I think it deserves. It's easily my favorite of the newer Star Wars movies. So yeah, Rogue One definitely slept on with everyone in the Star Wars universe, and I thought the ending with the Darth Vader scene was the coolest thing inside the Star Wars universe and bumped it up to the S tier. Whew. All right, only two more movies to go. Next up, we have Solo. I'm going to put this in B tier for a couple of reasons. When I first saw Solo, I wasn't a huge fan of it, if I'm being perfectly honest. I kind of gave into the, why do we need this movie? This movie doesn't need to exist. We don't need to know how he met Chewbacca. We don't need to know how he got his name. But here, I kind of looked past that and got over that initial reaction that everyone else had, and kind of just enjoy it for what it is. It's a nice little heist movie. Now, it doesn't really do anything more than that, and I don't think it's trying to do anything more than that. It's just a simple Star Wars movie that's just trying to be this little okay heist movie that it is, and I appreciate it for that. I like the visuals. I like Donald Glover as Lando. I like Alden Ehrenreich. I have no idea how to say that guy's name. The guy who played Han Solo, I think that he was really good. I don't like Paul Bettany's villain in this movie. I think he's kind of generic, and the plot twist at the end that Darth Maul is in it is a little stupid. But yeah, overall, Solo is just pretty okay. It's one of the more forgettable Star Wars movies, but it's also still pretty decent. I like it. And the very last Star Wars movie here is the Clone Wars movie. I would put this lower if I didn't grow up with it. I watched it all the time as a little kid. I loved it back then. But nowadays, when I go back to rewatch it, it's really a bad representation of the show. It's just a bunch of episodes kind of put together, and it doesn't work at all. The story's really bad, and I don't know. It's shouldn't have been released to theaters. I should just say that. It's unremarkable. All right. So that was it. let's go through the final ranking. Number 1, I have Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, Revenge of the Sith. Number 3, Return of the Jedi. Number 4, A New Hope. Number 5, Rogue One. Number 6, Last Jedi. Number 7, Force Awakens. Number 8, Solo. Number 9, Phantom Menace. Number 10, the Clone Wars movie. Number 11, Rise of Skywalker. And number 12, Attack of the Clones. And at the bottom, the stupid holiday special that we don't talk about. Alright, so that's my tier list. Let me know what you guys' ranking is in the bottom and in the comments, and I will see you guys later. Happy Star Wars Day.